Now, the number of schools in England with concrete that's at risk of collapse has risen from 147 to 174, according to new figures released in the past few minutes by the Department for Education. Well, an updated list shows that a total of 174 education settings in England have RAAC present as of the 14th of September. Thousands of pupils had the start of their term disrupted by the discovery of RAAC, as some schools had to close buildings or classrooms. Well, in a statement, Education Secretary Gillian Keegan said, "We're taking a cautious approach so every parent in England can be reassured their child is safe in their school." School and local leaders deserve huge credit for making sure the vast majority of settings with confirmed RAAC are continuing to offer pupils face-to-face learning, including all of the 147 schools initially identified 2 weeks ago. We will continue to work closely with affected schools and provide both expert and financial support to minimise disruption and keep staff and children safe. Well, our political correspondent, Mari Aurora, joins me now. Mari, the number up to 174. Interesting also to bring in that context. We mentioned the word disruption in the opening. Reading out Gillian Keegan's statement there, she implies that even of the earlier 147 schools, face-to-face learning in the vast majority of them did continue throughout.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what the government is keen to stress, is they're keen to try and make this a very kind of minute problem. They're trying to essentially demonstrate that the majority of schools are unaffected, and even the schools that are affected, the majority of those schools could still get that face-to-face learning. So the list that we had over the summer, there were only about 20 schools that had a hybrid arrangement, so a mixture of face-to-face and remote. That's now gone up to 23, so that's actually increased. But the number of schools that are learning remotely has actually gone down. So it was 4, now it's only 1. And also the number of schools that were having to delay the start of term because of RAAC has gone down to 0 from 19 as well. So in some ways, as you say, Gillian Keegan trying to kind of show that this is really the government getting to grips with the situation, and actually knowledge is power when it comes to finding all of this RAAC and therefore being able to mitigate some of the difficulties that it does cause. But what's really interesting in that data set is also the fact that not all schools have yet responded to the questionnaires yet. So last time we had that update, the government said there was about 5% of schools that still were yet to respond to the questionnaires. Now we've got an update and the number has increased. It's up to 98.6%, but nonetheless that means that just under 1.5% of schools still haven't replied to those questionnaires yet. So the real question is, why not? Why is it taking so long? And is the government pushing for that? Is the government maybe even frustrated with the potential slow pace of that? We also know that at some point in the future, the NHS is going to be publishing a list of buildings with RAAC as well. We are also still expecting an update at some point, we don't know when, from the Ministry of Justice about a survey that was launched in April around RAAC in prisons and courts. So this is really just the beginning of the RAAC saga, I think. And also we know that potentially this number is going to go up again as those surveys continue to come back and continue potentially to find more RAAC in the UK schools.